Hi, Daymond. Welcome.
What's up, man?
How's it going? So I got to read this bio. So my guest today, when someone has a bio like this, I just have to read it because trying to memorize it just doesn't do justice for all the accolades that you have. So an entrepreneur in every sense of the word, Daymond John has come a long way from taking out a $100,000 mortgage on his mother's house and moving his operation into the basement. He's the CEO and founder of FUBU, a much celebrated global lifestyle brand and pioneer in the fashion industry with over $6 billion in product sales. He's an award-winning entrepreneur and has received over 35 awards, including Brand Week Marketer of the Year, Advertising Age Marketing 1000 Award for Outstanding Ad Campaign, and Ernst & Young's New York Entrepreneur of the Year. His marketing strategies and ability to build successful brands has made him a highly influential consultant and motivational speaker today. His marketing firm, The Shark Group, offers advice on how to effectively communicate to consumers through innovative means and connects brands with the world's top celebrities from everything from endorsements to product extensions. Adding to all this, he's also a New York Times best-selling author and just released his 5th book, Power Shift, which we'll talk a lot about today. Finally, he's celebrating his 11th season on ABC's hit show, Shark Tank, which has gone on to win 4 Emmys, and millions of weekly viewers tune in to see Daymond demonstrate his marketing prowess and entrepreneurial insights. Aside from all that, 10 years ago, my first of many meetings with him really changed my entire trajectory and set me on the entrepreneurial path. A man I owe a lot to, a mentor and friend. Please welcome Daymond John. Daymond, thank you so much for doing this.
Wow. Has it been 10 years already?
It's been 10 years. It's crazy.
Oh, that's great.
Honor to have you here. Thank you so much for doing this. I want to really start off really quickly here. You met me when I had a clothing brand before I started the agency, before I got out of clothing and started the agency. And since then, you've helped so many entrepreneurs. When you started FUBU, right? As far as I know, you didn't really have a mentor that helped guide you and help shape your business. So why is it so important for you now to give back?
That's a good question. I mean, I did have some formal mentors. They weren't as they weren't in certain positions, but some of them were really great. They just couldn't speak to me daily, which I didn't speak to you daily. Honestly, we met once in a while, but it's not about a mentor who needs to hold your hand every day. They give you kind of insights, make you think about things, ask you some questions, and you go off and you try and you fail and you try and you succeed, and then you recalibrate. But I think what made me want to do this is just that it was always about giving back. I mean, that's honestly how I got onto Shark Tank. I wrote my first book, Display of Power. It was I wanted to I wanted to show people what was it like to be an entrepreneur instead of the glossy things of how life is great and everything else like that. Um, and I just think that there's a lack of true transparency and knowledge out there in the entrepreneurial space. Everybody's making it seem like it's so glamorous, and it's not. Can it be great? Absolutely, but is it glamorous? Not all the time. And I just want to help people.
Love it. And you definitely helped me. And I know for a fact you've helped others. One of your first books after Display of Power was A Brand Within, right?
Yeah.
So in A Brand Within, something you talk a lot about is, building a brand or building even better a lifestyle, and how lifestyle really has longevity, right? If you're going to build something, build to have it as a lifestyle or as a brand. Nowadays, with digital marketing coming along and Facebook ads and the instant gratification or the direct-to-consumer response, a lot of people are just going for that quick hit, that quick ROI, that quick sale. Do you still think your strategy of building a lifestyle still works now?
Oh, sure. But in the brand within, I share that there's 4 stages to anybody's existence, and you may not get to lifestyle, you may not get the brand right. First of all, there's a product and or a thing or whatever the case is, the existence, meaning you or meaning some water or whatever the case is. The next stage is there's a label that is being put on it, whether you're putting a label on yourself or somebody else is putting a label on something. It doesn't mean that it has a following. It just means that now you can identify with something. Then the next stage would be after that a brand, meaning the brand has inherent values and or a DNA that you can invest into. Ralph Lauren is a brand. Well, Ralph Lauren is more of a lifestyle, but and then the last way that you get to, like Ralph Lauren, like Nike, like Coca-Cola, is a lifestyle, which means that your brand can sum up the entire category, right? You just say, you know, I want to be like Ralph. You know what Ralph Lauren is. You think of immediately high quality. You think of boats and yachts and horses and ranches and, you know, people playing tennis and super clean. I mean, it is a lifestyle. Somebody walking down the block and like, who do you think you are, Ralph Lauren? You know what I mean? That's what it is. So today, yeah, I think that it is more important now because of all the traffic coming in and all the mixed messages coming in. If you happen to build a brand or a lifestyle that really is you, your customers know who it is, you can run through and push through all the confusion out there.
So what do you say to all the marketers right now, or let's say all the business owners right now, who are like looking for that immediate conversion, top of funnel, cold audience, prospecting, they need that immediate conversion. You know, I've spoken to guys like Gary Vaynerchuk, Frank Kern, Ryan Dyson, and now guys like you who all understand the importance of building a brand. What's your response to those people who are like, hey, I just need that immediate ROI?
Well, it all depends on if you're going back to your brand. I mean, your ROI could be the fact that you you are a discount wholesaler, massive goods or massive information thing, and you're not a person who is about longevity, whatever. You are moving on, like you're somebody who is a hustler, right? And people coming to you for deals, right? You're as good as the last deal you made, or you may be somebody who is serving the long thing. It really just means, what is your core brand? You know, a lot of people think that brands need to be always of opulence and of quality. A brand of, like in my market, t-shirts. You can buy 3 white t-shirts in probably Walmart for $9. And that brand is, I'm messy. I get my t-shirt dirty all the time. I can wear these a total of 6 times and I'm done. All right. And it only costs me $9.99 and I can buy a bunch of more. Or your brand could be, it's one shirt and it's a Dolce & Gabbana and it's $100 because you're not going to see other people with this type of shirt on, that many people, and it's the quality. So it all depends on what you're selling. Are you going back to your core of who you are? And I say it often. Can you put yourself in 2 to 5 words? What are the core beliefs of your company, your personal brand, whatever the case is? And what are your customers' core beliefs and what are they looking for?
I want to talk about power shift for a moment. I feel like more than just a tactical blueprint on how to win or gain your power back or achieve power, it's a mindset. Was that your intended approach behind the book? For the people who haven't read it or don't know what it's about, why don't we explain what power shift is exactly?
Yeah, 100%. It is. It is a mindset. This is my 3rd book in 5 years. And me being dyslexic, it's not easy to write books. I don't write them just to write them. I don't write them because, my initial one, I wanted a calling card. Right? I want to share with people information. I don't need to do that anymore, thank God. You go on CNBC, the sharks on there like Kardashians of CNBC. I write my books because of a need that I think that I didn't address. When I go over my last couple of books that people have read, when they still have a certain question, I start writing these questions down and I gather them over 6 months or a year, and I go, wow, these haven't been addressed. And one of the most common things that I was gathering after writing my last book, which was Rise and Grind, was the fact that people said, okay, you told me how to make money without money. You told me how to be a brand. You told me how to maximize my 24 hours in a day. But I need somebody to help me. I need some power. I mean, somebody, my wife won't give me the power, or my community won't allow me power, or the man has taken the power away from me, or something like that. And I said, well, you can never get out of the starting block if you don't believe that you have the power to do it. So let me try to find 5 or 10 or 20 of my friends that I don't only consider them friends. I think that they are people who have dominated the world that they're at, and find out if I can find a common denominator between all of us on what gives us power or how do we take power away. And I put that all in the book. And then I realized that people think power is the hard in front of the sharks, make a deal right now and let's go. And they didn't understand that power is building influence way before you get to the time of the negotiation. When you do negotiate, what's in it for the person you're negotiating with? And after that, the value in the relationship that you can pull out of over the course of 2 days, 5 days, 20 years, or 100 years. And it's 3 parts to being in power. and that's what I wanted to put into the book. And unfortunately, we're at a situation now where that's what people need. Everybody right now is going to depend on the influence that they've built in the past. Have they been trustworthy? Have they not? Have they been somebody who morally other people agree with or not? Have they done great work or not? That's the influence. They're going to be negotiating things right now with their boss, how to get, not laid off or get a better position with outside vendors, or, with their banks, with their mortgage company, with their significant other in the house, to find out how not to kill each other while you're home. And then if they're smart enough, they're going to dig into the contacts, Rolodexes, and or people that they've worked with in the past and find how to collaborate. What are other people doing? Do they need help? Can you help me? And be very open, because we're all in the same situation. And that's exactly what power shift is, and it's happening right now and unfolding in front of our eyes.
So what's the best way then for someone who wants to build up their influence? Let's start there. If that's the first step in all this, right? And they want to look back and they sit there and say, I don't know if I did a good enough job building my influence right now to hit the negotiating stage. What's the best way for them to slowly build up their influence?
Well, understand who is the circle of people you're around, and what qualities do you have yourself? You can't find out if you built influence with somebody else unless you know your why and what your qualities are within yourself, right? Because their interpretation of who you are it may not be what you want, or it may be something great, but it may not be who you are. So first of all, you need to know your why. Why was I doing things? Also, now, of course, you got to immediately look at your social media platforms and see what you're putting out there. I talked to somebody that I have a massive amount of respect for. They're a little older, and they're a couple, and I noticed that, and they're in business for themselves. They've been in business for themselves the last 30 years. And I looked on they say they don't know about social media, so they don't know how to market their businesses that they do, at home, right? And to go give people. So they said, I don't know nothing about social media. I said, okay, no problem. I look at their website. I look at their Facebook, though, and all they have are pro-Trump posts and anti-democratic posts, and very nasty posts about the Democrats. I don't care who people are voting for or that's not where I'm going right now. But what I brought to their attention is, you don't know anything about social media, so you're not showing the beautiful work that you do and how you can educate people on how they can do it themselves. And if they can't do it themselves, then maybe they come to you and they have you do it. But yet you are putting up 20 posts that are pro-Trump, which is fine. You can be pro anybody, but anti-Democrats and nasty, that's where the problem is. Because first of all, they had 600 people that were following them, I noticed 2 and 3 people were liking their posts. And I said, I'm going to tell you something. If you were going to work for me and my wife looked you up and all they saw was the nastiness, and not that I'm a Democrat or not, you were just nasty, she would say, I don't want that person in my house. Also, the people that liked you, there was only 3. If you have 600, I'm not saying all of them disagreed, but even the ones that disagreed didn't even want to co-sign on it. Where was the advantage to what you're doing? There's no upside to it now. If you were just pro-Trump, that's fine. Hey, I like this president for these reasons. But just like our parents told us when we grew up, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all, right? When you right now want to build influence, are you looking at what you're putting up? And because people are looking at you, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to pick up our phone and pull you up. And are you looking at who you're posting pictures around? I had a woman one day, and I'll give you an example, how somebody says, Daymond, how would I ever build influence with you if I saw you in the elevator? I'm only going to be in the elevator for 90 seconds with you. How do I build influence? Here's the pitch. How you doing, Daymond? I've seen you a lot of times on the show. Maybe I don't even know the show that well, but here's what I do. And, if there can ever be a value that I can add to you, and I'm not always on the clock, just let me know. And maybe, I'll be able to give you some advice and or add value here. Just let me know. And here's my name, whatever the case is. I'm going to go out of the elevator. I'm going to look you up. That happened to me one day. I looked up the person, sweet woman. She had that energy, walked in the elevator. It was like, wow, I want to be around this person. I looked her up. Every picture she took on there, I started seeing this guy on there, and he kept having the Confederate flag on his shirt, and it was her husband. I never called her. I believe that she thinks like him. I don't know, right? And maybe, maybe she doesn't. Maybe she fights with him all the time. But that's where her influence was lost. And I've seen other people that I work with when I've talked to in elevators or wherever, and I go on their page and I notice that they love to work at charitable organizations. Everything they post is about, listen, life is going to be okay, or here's how to solve things. And I see that whatever the case is, and I have called them and I have done deals with them.
You just opened up a can of worms for everyone listening, trying to pitch you in an elevator next time they see you. For those people listening who want to pitch Daymond in an elevator, what do most people do wrong when they get in an elevator with you, or just around you in general?
They tell me their problems. They tell me how I can save them. And they don't take in consideration that I'm human, that I have problems. So you do a couple of things. Number one, if you tell someone your problems, you remind them that whenever they're going to be around you, you're going to tell them more of your problems. You also put an inherent burden on them because they're like, now I got another job. And you also take away the fact that they're human and they have families and they have businesses and they have everything else. So you also seem selfish. And that's the worst thing you could do. And then if you also assume that I can take away all those problems and everything else with my magic wand, then you also don't have enough knowledge of where you're going in the world. Because if I had the answers to every single thing, I would be Bill Gates, or I would be, Phil Knight or something like that. So don't assume. It's not my job. But if you come in there again, joyous, and you have this upbeat self, and you ask me what's going on with myself, how can I add value? I know, everybody knows that if you're talking to me, like or anybody else, they know you have an interest in something. They know that you need something or hope to accomplish something. That's already, it's like a woman at a bar when a guy walks up to her. You already know that he has a level of interest. Do you have to say, are you interested in me? You don't, right? So I think that's where people screw up the pitch.
But people watching this then see a show like Shark Tank, for example. And yes, we understand it's edited, but it usually, the crying people with the story usually pulls on your emotional heartstrings, you especially, and a lot of the other sharks. So it seems like their problems actually help them get that pitch through.
No, we've kicked a lot of people in the ass who cry. Not at all. You may be talking, listen, I only teared up 2 times, and the time that I teared up, those people were going to get a deal regardless. They came in the room, and it was the young family who had lost both of their parents to cancer. Their father was a firefighter, and he lost due to 9/11 related, things, and he had a product and stuff like that. And that is the important part to show. It wasn't that they didn't cry. Actually, I was the one blubbering. They held themselves strong. And that resonated with me because I'm a New Yorker. I went through cancer. I was there in 9/11. I lost other friends to 9/11 related, challenges. I saw that these kids had a very simple product and they were willing to go on, without their parents. I resonated with everything. You see, there was the part of resonating with it. They didn't come on and tell us their problems. They were showing us their dad as in joy. Dad got it to this level, and God rest his soul, and we're going to do this without you. And that's when people pitch you and win you over, because they're going to, when somebody says to you, listen, the train's leaving the station regardless. I want you on this train with me, but if you're not on this train with me, no problem. But I'm going to go and win with or without you, and you want to be part of that person, part of that person's journey. You're like, hey, let me on the train,
It's like the people who realize that after they get the deal with a shark, the real work begins, and not that all their problems were solved.
Yeah, the real work begins. Listen, I've had a lot of failures in Shark Tank and a lot of successes, and the ones that separated the difference between the failures and successes is that The people who succeeded, they ran into brick walls and they worked out regardless. Even some of us have gotten to brick walls where we decided to dissolve the deal, or reconnect another time, and I come back around and maybe even they're doing another business, and I'm like, I just love the way that person dealt with this. Others, the numbers are great, everything's working, but they're difficult to deal with. They're telling you their problem. I don't want to say like nobody can tell you their problem, but they're making it such an issue like it's impassable. And if you don't have the answer, because I'm telling it to you, there's no way to solve it, right? And those are the deals that they fade away, or they never really produce the type of fruit that you want them to produce, or you hope for them to produce.
When it comes to Shark Tank, what are some misconceptions people have when it comes to the show versus in reality?
Yeah, when it comes to Shark Tank, I think the biggest misconceptions people have are people think that for some reason it's not our money, it's ABC's money, and if it was ABC's money, I would give everybody a deal, every single person. They think that we know the products and or brands that are coming on there prior. We don't get any information on them, and even if I know a good amount about you, then you're going to be presented because listen, trust me, people pitch us some of these products, and I can't take the pitches, unless I've already done it on a public platform or something like that. People pitch us these products over the course of 2-3 years, never knowing they're ever going to get on Shark Tank. But they have to disclose with the producers if they've ever pitched us. And if they have pitched me, then they go on to a panel when I'm not on the panel. So there's no there's no knowledge. I don't have another edge on other sharks. The pitches last 45 minutes to 2 hours. People only see 8 minutes of it. Takes us up to 6 to 9 months to close the deals. We close about 80% of the deals. I think for me, 6 out of 10 deals fail. Not close. I mean, they close, but they fail. The businesses fail. I don't like to talk about the businesses that fail because I have a public voice, and in the event that I say something and that person's name is Googled, somebody could hold it against them. Let's say a bank or somebody else. So I don't share those people who failed. And people believe that the sharks can buy everything all the time. We're just gazillionaires who can buy everything. Maybe that's Mark Cuban. You can, but no, we can't buy everything. You just can't. It would be called Deal Tank, first of all. And just because I can buy it, just because I like it, why do I need to buy the company? Why don't I just buy one sponge? Why do I need to buy the whole damn company? Because I love it so much, right? So that's a lot of times what the misconceptions. But it's a big world out there, and there's a lot of information out there. And also, they think the sharks are supposed to, we're notable, and I guess when you call us celebrities, but they think that we're supposed to come to the rescue of everybody all the time and save everything. Our own government is not doing that for us. How is a damn shark going to do that? We're just business people with cameras on us. That's it.
Smart business people with cameras on you.
Yeah, we hope. I can't speak that much for Barbara, but yeah.
I want to go back for a second to talk about power shift, and especially during today's time, right? Unemployment's going up high. You have people who are at home wondering what's going to happen next. How does power shift play a role, especially now more than ever? How can people really tap into it?
Well, we use so many examples, and so in the book, there's Lindsey Vonn, there's Kris Jenner, there's Pitbull, Mark Cuban, Bethany Frankel, and we show. And we go down the path, and I write my books such as a student. I'm asking them questions because I'm the student at the time. And we ask them, certain ways of pivoting, because you'll wonder why somebody like a Diddy will start off being a dancer, then he'll own a record label, then he'll be the artist himself, then he'll move into the clothing business, and then he'll start moving into the vodka and the spirits business, and also be a television star. And you'll say, how do you get to the top of almost every single one of those areas of industry where it's hard enough to get to the top of one? Like a Magic Johnson, who's an athlete, and then all of a sudden he owns franchise, and then he's a real estate investor, and then he owns teams. And how do you pivot throughout that? And I've seen that done with all the other people that I've interviewed in the book. And that's why you apply it to today, because it's talking about pivoting. What are they putting into pivoting? And what you learn in the book is some of the things we touched on. is what is your why? What is the purpose you're doing things? You know, I like to give the example that people say, well, I want $1 million. Well, why? What are you going to do with $1 million? I'm going to buy a Bugatti. Well, that's $1 million too. I'm going to buy 10 cars. Okay, are you going to buy them because they're going to be a fleet of Ubers you're going to send out, or you're just going to let them become depreciating assets? You know what? I'm going to move to Bali and I'm going to live off $30,000 a year. That means I'm going to live for 10 years for $360,000. The other $640,000 I'm going to put in bonds or buy the market when it's low. When I come back after 10 years, I'm going to be 30 years old. I'm going to have approximately, if I grew about 12%, I'm going to have probably about $3 million. And then I'm going to move forward and do other things. Like, what is your why, right? Are you going to buy 10 income producing properties? And when people don't know their why, we find that people go out there and they do other things because society said they should do it. Their parents convinced them they should do it. They're trying to impress somebody they're interested in, or they're trying to impress a bunch of people on Instagram who they really don't like. And so the first stage of power shift is knowing your why. The second stage of power shift is understanding, like I said, your inventory. What do you have personally? Whether the world is going to change or not, listen, COVID's going to be around in one way or another, maybe not as drastic, 10 years from now. I went through 08 crash. I went through the dot-com bubble crash. I went through 9/11. I went through the 98 crash and the 08 crash, and now I'm going through COVID. We cannot dictate the future. All we can dictate is what we're going to do with the assets we have and the inventory we take. You see, like me, I grew up, dyslexic, African American, no money, single mother, got left back in school, never went to college. It is what it is. I got to either move forward. I'm not going to sit there and cry about that. And a lot of people don't take inventory and they just cry about the things that have happened already, and then they're in a fog about the things that are going to happen instead of taking inventory and understanding what they got to do with what they have at the moment.
Love it. I feel most people get tripped up on their why, right? I feel like it's a hard thing for them to break down. So do you have any tactical advice on how someone could slowly start figuring out what their why is, if it's that important?
Well, I put some of the stuff in the book about what the why is, but you're going to need a pen and a pad or a computer, and you're going to have to start looking and going down to, listen, you could do two things. You could do one is the fill in the things that you love to do and fill in the things you hate to do. Right? That's one thing. And what you could try to do is source out or get rid of the things you hate to do, either sourcing it out. If it's a job, then you have to always keep the job. If it's people creating that thing that you hate, try to source out and try to do some more things you love. Or you can do something very simple. And it's scary. It's writing down your obituary. Write your obituary how you would love to be perceived when you die. You'll find your why all in there. If you want to be perceived when you die as the person with the most likes on social media, then you know your why. I doubt anybody wants to do that, but if you are, you're a moron, but it's fine.
So you talked about how you've gone through different forms of recessions, let's say, like the '08, the dot-com bubble, 9/11. So far, and in your opinion, how is this one different than all those?
This one is different in our lifetime because I wasn't around during World War I or World War II. I would assume that during World War I and World War II, the entire globe was in a global meltdown, and they didn't know if they were going to live, or they didn't know if another government was going to take them over. But I would say besides those, this is the first time that every single person in the globe is threatened by the same exact thing. Everybody's doing the same exact thing, whether it's staying at home and or whatever the case is. And I think that this is also the first time where we all have so many different new technology tools at our fingertips that will allow you to shift your career or empower yourself or get the education you need without having to leave the home, right? So I think that the worst of the worst is here and the best of the best is here simultaneously. And I don't think this is going away for another year and a half at least. So For those who want to stick their head in the sand and say we're going to be walking around in the summertime and it'll all be fine, that's not going to happen. You can't get no matter, even if a vaccine was cleared today, you can't get a medically administered vaccine out into the entire world, in 2 months, in 6 months. How are you going to get that out, right? And so people need to realize the truth and the reality of the situation. Here's the only fact we know about what's going on today. There's a deadly virus that spreads quickly and kills people right now, and there's no cure for it. It's the only fact we have. I'm a pretty simple guy. I didn't go to college. I barely finished high school. That's all I need to know to prepare myself to alter and adjust in whatever ways I can, because the whole just stick my head in the sand and go, yo, it'll be all good. I keep hearing about new medicine, new vaccine. That ain't going to happen. So now you know what you're facing. What are you going to do?
Love it. I think people are assuming we're going to go back to normal. I personally think there's a new normal. We can't go backwards, and we can't live life looking in the rearview mirror. So looking at that, what changes do you see happening? Like for example, in apparel, do you see this becoming us less dependable on places like China, for example? It's too scared to depend on China. Like how does the landscape change?
I really don't know how the landscape will change. I know that the distancing will become part of your normal life. I mean, you're right. It's like somebody going after 9/11 saying, I'm going to go to the airport the same way that I did prior to 9/11. That's not going to happen, right? And we're going to have to work it out. But I think that the distancing part is going to be a fear for quite some time. Not only because of this current virus, but people are creatures of habit. If you've been lysoling yourself to death and wearing all these kind of protective devices on you, do you think if you've been doing that for a year and a half to 2 years, you're just going to stop and be like, I'm going to go back to my old ways, right? So you're going to be that type of person. You're also going to see a lot of technologies arrive. I'm sure that this season on Shark Tank, everything's going to be protective products and things of that nature. You're also going to improve the way that you communicate. Right before this virus happened, I remember while it was happening, I was doing an interview with some news anchors, and they were like, yeah, I think everything's going to change with social distancing. They're like, oh, our job can't be done virtually. Now you look at TV, every news anchor's in their basement or some other place, right? So I think communication is going to do this. What is this going to create? This is going to create, I think, AI is going to increase. I think that, so many different ways of communication are going to increase. I call this, I've been calling this lately, I've been calling Corona Rise of the Machines. I think that this has shortened the curve of 20 to 25. We're going to live like 2025 when we get out of this, in another year or so. Now you could either be like I joke and say be John Connor and try to resist the machines, and that ain't going to happen, or you could be George Jetson and ride the machines and work with them. But 100%, there's going to be a lot of technology in clothing. I think that science and biotech is going to be in clothing and in devices all around your body. They're going to be able to detect certain type of viruses and various other things. So, and will we stop working with China? No. That ain't gonna happen. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, all this old crap or stop working with China. Why is Walmart doing so well? All right, everybody wants to say they want to stop working with China, but Dave Chappelle said it the best. You ready to get paid $10 an hour to put GI Joe heads on dolls? We don't want that. Let them. Unfortunately, with what's going on right now, they have they've destroyed the planet. But I'm going to tell you something. If you haven't been to China, it is the nastiest, dirtiest place you've ever been in your life. And you don't want manufacturing here because you don't want our clouds. Our clouds are bad enough, but you don't want them filled with the poisons in our lakes and oceans with all the dumping that they do over there. I want them to keep manufacturing over there. Let them kill their country. I don't need them to kill ours.
Love it. But to be fair, I don't remember George Jetson being an option in any of the Terminators. Right? It was death or be John Connor. But I like your option C. I like your option C.
Yes, but we haven't seen Terminator 19. It's not out yet. But you know how he went and they reprogrammed Arnold to come back and help, right? Those are the smart ones.
Got it. You said something interesting that you wrote this book almost from the point of being a student, right? Like looking at the
No,
successful
not
people watching.
almost. From the point of being a student, yes.
Perfect. It's the same reason why I started Perfectly Mentored, right? It was a way for me to learn from the best people like you, and really get your insights and kind of figure it out. So, based off all the people that you've interviewed throughout all your books, right, and seeing successful people on Shark Tank, what seems to be the success denominator? What do all these people have in common?
They act immediately and they take affordable steps towards wherever they want to go, and then they perfect those steps over the course of time. They don't normally look at the big picture. They look at only what's immediately in front of them, what resources they have, and how can they accomplish this one step. And I say it all the time. Every single thing you see in this world is not created naturally. Every single person started off with one person with one idea that took one action, and they don't overthink things. They just start. And people right now, they're overthinking things. A lot of people, and some people are just starting. I mean, I'm sure if you reflect on your life and where you come from, you didn't overthink it. You just started, and then you said, okay. You either went down a path and said, I really don't like this path, but you had enough to recover from, or it wasn't a long enough time, or you went down past and you said, I like this. It's interesting. And even while you were going down this path, you played with something else just a little bit, right? And that some of those things went away and some of those things blossomed for you.
And do you think the ability to adapt and pivot is something that could be taught? Or, real entrepreneurs know how to pivot, they know how to adapt. And what we're seeing right now is, for maybe a good thing, that the past 10 years, it was hard not to really make money if you really focus on trying to sell something, right? Business was good. And what we're getting through right now is a downturn where people are maybe having that mindset of like, oh shit, I don't want to be part of this. Do you think that ability to really pivot, adapt, adjust is something that could be taught?
I do believe everything can be taught, because I believe that the ability not to do it was taught. That was taught. Not to pivot, not to adjust. Because nobody, was born with all the knowledge that we need. Even when Kevin O'Leary was hatched, he was hatched as a dumb little bird, right? Or lizard or whatever he is. So, and we see that in our kids and our nieces, nephews, brothers and sisters. My daughter knows how to manipulate any room. She's 3 years old. She's 4 years old, because they try. They just keep poking at you, and they try to get a toy or get candy or cry or do this and that. And they pivot, and she pivots differently when she talks to her mother, pivots differently when she talk to me. And that is something that comes natural to us, right? It's the ones who have then been structured to only think one way, and then when they come and fall against adversity, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to adapt to it. I know it can be taught, because it's already taught. The other side of it is already taught to not understand how to pivot.
When it comes to pivoting and adjusting, what are the most important decision makers that go in your head? Like, what do you weigh the most
in pivoting?
In whether you need to pivot or adapt, like how do you make that decision in your head?
It goes back to if you add all the other things up, it's not a hard decision, because you don't pivot one shot. And okay, now we are forced to do some level of reflection of one shot. Boom, you had a job on Monday and now you don't have a job on Tuesday, right? But to not beat a dead horse, but to say what you have to do is, hey, understand your why and what do you want to do and what do you accomplish in life, and then 2, take affordable steps. Those pivots don't seem that bad, because especially if you're right now in your home, you're doing 0. I don't want to tell you to be the jack of all trades, but you can try to do 4 things that you really like to do, and you don't just do them arbitrarily. Say, I'm going to put in 1 hour a day on each one of these things, right? And at the end of the week, I'm going to see, or at the end of this 2 weeks, I'm going to see where I'm at. Just schedule yourself. And I'm not saying that's the only thing you should do. You just say, all right, this is paying the bills, so I'm putting in 8 hours a day on this. I'm putting in 4 hours a day or 4 minutes a day, whatever the case is. And you slowly start to pivot in those areas. And then you'll find that you'll start to move things out of the way that aren't working, that you don't like, that you didn't realize, was not something for you, where you need too many people to accomplish this. But those are the things that give you the ability to pivot, knowing what you want, writing down the inventory of knowing your why, writing down your inventory, and then taking the affordable steps in those places.
You're a big fan of networking. I know you.
Yeah.
I know you believe in it. What are some of the best networking tips you have for people?
The best networking tips I have for people is try to find a way to add more value to the person on the other side of the networking side. And let's talk about social networking, the same thing. When people follow you, you're supposed to follow them just as much and give them just as much value and or support, and you make them your biggest ambassadors. So networking is not, again, it goes back to being in the elevator. It's not walking up to the person and telling them all the challenges you have and where you want to go in life. To network is to, to bring the net amount of people in a room, not the gross amount of people, the net amount of people in the room that you can work with, the ones you find, the collective smallest group of people that you find that you can add value to and you can work with. And networking is very powerful. And I always share that, all right, we're doing it on another platform today, but the reality is that prior to the platforms of social media and the internet, networking and references were the best way to be effective. I give you an example. If you met me and I met you, and you met me and said, hey, I need somebody to help me. I have a small building. I have a building with 60 units in it, and I need a great plumber and electrician. Do you know anybody? Well, I'm not going to recommend a family member of mine who I may have my own personal issues with, right? They owed me money in the past. They lied to me. We had a fight back in 1976. I don't like it. I'm not going to recommend that person to you, because you know what? I like you and you have a building, and maybe we're going to do something in the future. So I don't want them to hurt that relationship. But maybe I was at a bar the other night and somebody said to me, hey, you know what? I'm a small general contractor, and I got some buildings I do, and I do plumbing and electricity. I would take that person's card and give it to you and say, listen, man, Jason, I really don't know this guy that well. I mean, he sounded like he was a decent guy. Maybe he's of some value to you. You should check him out. I don't know him though, right? What does that do? It shows that I cared about you. I tried to connect you with somebody. That guy showed I tried to connect you with somebody, and hopefully one day, if the guy works out, you'll help me out with something. And if he doesn't work out, I gave you the disclaimer already. That's networking. All we're doing that now is putting it on another platform where you regram somebody or retweet somebody or like or share. We're doing the same exact thing. We're just doing it on another platform. And networking is very powerful.
If you don't mind, we'll kind of wrap up. I know you don't have a lot of time, and we'll take some questions from the people who wrote in the comments. But just before that, who's one shark you want to beat on every deal? Like, you need to beat that shark.
On every deal?
You don't like losing deals to this shark.
I don't like losing deals to Lori. Lori and I are both in the consumer goods territory, Robert's Tech and Cuban's Tech and all that kind of stuff. So when she beats me out, I don't like it, because I never know if she beat me out also because she's cute, right? So Lori's very easy on the eyes. You know what I mean? So that's why I always go, why did she beat me out? But she's also very, very smart and very, very good. So don't like getting beat up by Lori.
Through the course of your amazing career that you've had so far, and more to come, what's the best advice you think you've received?
It's going to sound crazy. It's just always going to be the numbers. Like, look at the numbers. Like, have financial intelligence, and that's the best way. That's it. It's the numbers.
Cool. We'll take some questions. So Jason asks, not this Jason, but another Jason, when you consider investing in a business, what are the key things you look for as an investor?
Well, I look for the person, first of all. But I look at the business and say, well, first of all, I look at the person. Where did the person come from? Have they had failures in the past? Do I like the person? Do I think that they can handle this job? I look for some kind of sales or conversion, meaning I don't care if you sold 10 items, 10 pieces, but you got to tell me that you sold 10 pieces because you open up your trunk outside the mall and you sold 10 pieces in 3 minutes. And I go, okay, now you got a deal. If you sold 10 pieces over 10 years, then you don't got a deal. And then I look for where do I add value? It could be in the area. Listen, you try to sell me a makeup company or that I'm going to invest in. I don't wear makeup. I mean, or I don't wear it at that level. Obviously, I get powdered for the show. I can't give you any advice. Like, where can I add value? Because if you know what you're doing and maybe you got other people on the board, then maybe I would add value if you say, I just need you to understand, help me with manufacturing or retail. But if you want me in various other areas of it, I can't help. So I need to resonate with the product.
What do you think are the main factors that differentiate a new entrepreneur who ends up making it versus an entrepreneur who isn't successful?
I don't know. I don't know a new. Well, I guess a new entrepreneur. Listen, it's not about new or old, right? An entrepreneur who isn't successful cannot be successful for various different ways. Did they not start off small enough? So they are now tied to a $2 million loan, and they've been doing it for 10 years, and they didn't know their numbers. So somebody who isn't successful could have various different challenges. Do they not want to reset during this time? And even though we don't want to do this, but they didn't cut their employees back or any of their expenses, and they're a bleeding heart, and now the business collapses in the course of 6 months, and they could have just had to all hold their breath and do other things, cut back a little bit so everybody has a job in a year and a half. So it all depends on why the one who is not successful is not successful. And again, a lot of time that comes with theft and bad partners and bad agreements and usually not enough education. The ones who are successful take, like I said, they take affordable steps. They educate themselves. They act, they learn, and they repeat. They pivot when the time is coming. They keep finding other ways to collaborate with other people using OPM, meaning other people's manufacturing, mind power, manpower, marketing, mentors, and making profit off of other people's mistakes. Those are the reasons why the successful ones are successful, and nobody can ever stop them. They're gonna wake up in the morning before everybody and go to work after and go home after everybody.
When it comes to negotiating, what do most people do? What are the biggest mistakes that people make?
They expect that a deal is going to be struck the first time they have a conversation. So they want immediate gratification. They don't know their outcome. They think they only have one outcome where they don't know what will they not take. What are some other offerings? They don't know the target. What is the target into? Why will the target resonate with what you're doing? And they don't tell a good story. They overcomplicate a story where you have to ask so many questions when they can just be like, well, no, this is the Uber for party clowns. And then let the person who on the other side ask the questions, because you don't know what that other person is thinking. And if you talk too much and try to make it all like science and this and that, I don't know how my iPhone was built. I don't care. I just want to know what it does to me, really simple.
Got it. A lot of these questions are about how to pitch you. So I mean, I'm gonna change it and turn it into, wrap these all up into one, and not being how to pitch you, but what makes someone stand out? I'm sure you get pitched all the time, but what really stands out to you when you do get pitched?
It's just that person is going to be a star. We all have seen stars, and it's just that person's going to be a star. Then I'm open into listening to what they got to say. Listen, every single one of us has been in a room where somebody handed us a card and we blanked out before they even walked away. We don't remember their name, what they were saying, because we didn't feel like they were saying anything of value in the first couple of opening sentences. Or as a guy or a girl, when you're out somewhere and somebody says, "Excuse me, can I talk to you for a second?" You don't even remember the name because you didn't feel like they were going to add any value or you wanted to talk to them. It's really, listen, end of the day, I don't care how much we have social media and everything else, we're still humans, and that's how we react to people. And we still have that ability to want to feel like somebody's amazing, right? So I worked on those stupidest products with people who've been amazing, and I worked on brilliant products with people who were just somebody I didn't feel I ever wanted to work with again. And it all became working around amazing people.
Based off your elevator comments, someone's like, "What elevator should I get into?" Daymond,
you know what? You can pitch me. I'm starting to do something. I'm going to be doing something where people can pitch videos. So you can go to and email me or email your pitches, and they need to be under 90 seconds. Send me a video pitch, but you can do it. Email it to me at daymond@daymondjohn.com. I think I'm going to do that starting next week. Yeah.
Love it. I'll put that up in the comments. Daymond, on your come up with FUBU, I remember learning about how you hit the pavement and got your apparel into music videos and in the hands of rap artists. What do you think possessed? What do you think you possessed that got you these yeses? Did it build up your street? Was it like your street cred influence? Was it your charisma? Was it your negotiating skills? Your understanding of the upside in them saying yes to you? What do you think it was?
Really good question. It was, I didn't have any street influence. I write about it in the book, to be very honest. I don't want to give away everything, but I realized that on those video sets and in the rap world, there was a market with a subsegment of the market that was being neglected. And I went around to all of them and I hooked them up with a product first. And they influenced the other people on the set. It's almost like telling you when you're trying to go after meeting somebody and you're mean to the secretary or you're mean to the people at the front desk and you don't realize why you got anywhere. Those people are people too, and half the people are mean to them or neglectful to them, and when you give them some attention, those people may be the ones that yeah. I mean, Pepsi used to have a policy that they had cameras on in the front of their offices, and that the higher you were as an executive coming for an interview, the longer they made you wait, and they would watch how you would react to the receptionist. And if you were like, "Yo, I've been here an hour," well, and doing all this and that, they would go, "No problem. I see." So, people, the way I got onto those sets, the way I got my foot in the door with a lot of people was being kind, caring about the person who was in the front before getting to the manager or this person. And that would go a long way, because when they would shoo all the kids off the video set, they would say, let him stay. He's harmless. He's a good kid.
I mean, that was one of the first things you taught me when I launched a clothing brand was if you're going to give it to a celebrity or an athlete to wear, for example, don't go in with the, hey, can you put this on? Let me take a ton of pictures with you right now. Give it to them. Let them like it. And I think that's what really allowed me to kind of build my business with a lot of these athletes was I never asked for anything in return. If you like it, wear it. If you hate it, wash your car with it. By the way, it's my present to you.
Right. Excellent.
You've touched upon this. So someone asked, what are the 3 things in a business that get your attention? Person number 1, what are the next 2?
Proof of concept, meaning have you sold to whatever the case is, and then projection, goals and projections and mapping out, your strategy, your business plan.
How do you think brands need to adapt their marketing efforts and storytelling in this new era? And have any impressed you so far?
How do I adapt what?
How do you adapt your marketing efforts and storytelling in this new era? And has any brands impressed you so far with what they're doing?
A lot of our brands are impressing me. I love and they're using what's going on today. I love Uber. I love how it's showing, people at home, and it's putting it in your mind. And then at the end, it's saying, thanks for not riding Uber. Wait a minute, you advertised that we're not riding Uber? Right? You didn't go, we'll be back one day. Come on back through, right? Now, of course, they have a lot of money. They could have been right now trying to more work on, and maybe they probably are, working on their autonomous vehicles instead. And new cleansing systems when you get into the vehicle, or like those toilet seats that all the plastic rolls off of them. I have no idea, right? But they're spending their money on advertising and marketing. I like progressive. I saw a progressive one where they're all on Zoom, and the girl doesn't realize that you can see her on Zoom, like the stuff we seen out there where people go into bathrooms and this and that, and she's saying, yeah, hey honey, yeah, we're talking about how saving hundreds of dollars, like, you know what I mean. And but it's cleverly putting it together what's going on today with marketing. So I'm impressed by a lot of things that I'm seeing out there.
How do you value instinct versus gut in decision making? Like gut versus facts.
Gut versus fact. I was about to say the same thing. I value gut. If it doesn't feel right, it just doesn't feel right. I don't want to piss the other 11 signs off, but I happen to be a Pisces, and I think that we have a little more forward-thinking vision. Sorry, the other signs. I hate to upset you. So write in the comments what sign you are and your best ability. But I'll be very honest. Up until 30 years old, a lot of times when I can see something, I can foresee something happening, or my gut told me something, I didn't trust it, because I said to myself, who am I to think I know it all? Why don't I give this person a shot? This person's going to prove me wrong. Daymond, the way you got where you are is that you've trusted other people, but I trusted them even when my gut said to trust them. And after 30 years old, I realized, you know what? I'd rather be wrong. I'd rather be wrong because I'd rather be broke because I followed my gut, and I'd rather not be in the decision that I made because, okay, maybe I'm making money, but I'm finding myself in a bad place, or okay, maybe I'm making money, but I don't like the person. I just rather trust my gut.
But you've also built up a lifelong of your gut, where you can trust your gut, right? It comes from your past decision making. Oh, this is what my gut told me to do. It was wrong. Okay, I learned that mentally, and the gut needs calibration. No.
100%, the gut did, but then there's also the times when I've been wrong, and I've trusted my gut, and my gut was right in the category or the thing, but I trusted it too much, and I didn't do enough homework to follow through and reinforce the gut feeling. So gut without homework, it's not going to work. Or gut without homework and dedication.
So we know Bombas is the best investment to come out of Shark Tank, right? It's the highest return on investment, or whatever you want to look at it, the best deal to come out of Shark Tank. What deal did you pass on that you regret now?
Well, of course, we're all going to regret passing on Ring, because Ring sold for $1.2 billion. I don't regret passing on any deal necessarily. I do regret losing on a deal to Lori, Scrub Daddy, which is number 2 bestseller. But I didn't pass on that. I wanted to do it, and I lost on that.
Got it. We'll end here. I'm just going to say something, or someone asked the last question to come in. Who are your mentors right now?
My first mentor, and always will be, and still my mentor, is my mother. My wife, she gives me a lot of insight that I respect. My daughters, I have a daughter 28, a daughter 22. My 4-year-old is not my mentor just yet. Still young. I have a guy named Jay Abraham, who is my mentor. And I have about 4 of my FUBU partners, and I have about 4 other mentors that if I would say their name, you wouldn't know who they are.
Awesome. I'm going to put up a link right here. Go to that link. I'm going to give away 10 copies of your book, Power Shift, to 10 lucky winners.
I appreciate it.
That's number 1. Number 2 is I asked you what the best advice you've ever received, and I've been asked this question tons of times, and it always comes down to literally, like we said, almost 10 years ago, I walked into your office and I told you I was going to build $1 billion clothing brand. Right? I sat down across from you and said, I'm going to build $1 billion clothing brand. We know it didn't happen because clearly I'm not in the clothing space anymore, and I'm here. But I followed up with, maybe I'm just naive enough to think I could do it. And you never laughed. In fact, the first thing you said to me was, just remember that feeling. Remember that naivete feeling that you have right now, because as you get hit with no's, as you get rejections, as you get beaten down, as you know, the world just hits you with the nose and you're building your business, it's going to be very hard to keep that. And that's what makes businesses stop and fail. And that's what, you know, entrepreneurs don't persevere through. So I don't think I've ever really thanked you for that personally. It's been my compass whenever I make any decisions, talk about pivoting or business. I always come down to like that feeling. Do I believe in it? And that's when things get bad, I still go back to it. So in front of everyone and all the people watching and all the people that will watch, I wanted to really just thank you for that publicly. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. I'm really proud of what you're doing for everybody else as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Daymond. Really appreciate you.
You got it, man. Thank you. Thanks.